Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 29 of the Memorial Memo KSR's Kentucky Women's Basketball Podcast. Katie, we didn't do an episode last week. Life gets a little busy, man.
Mm,
Things happen, summertime. But, of course, it has been a minute, of course, since we've been on here. So I wanted to ask, how you been?
I've been good. I've been trying to stay busy as much as I can, but I was telling Phoenix earlier, and I'm gonna apologize to y'all watching. I went to Indiana this weekend and came back with a cold, so I'm gonna be coughing a little bit, but I'm just gonna try to stay muted to spare y'all from the awful sound.
It's I personally get allergies super bad. I don't know what it's like up in Indiana. It's like you were telling me before we got started if they have different pollen or something. But I know I get allergies really bad, so I can only imagine what you're going through right now. But Katie, first, like the most important thing we got to talk about, and you know, I feel like we wish we could have done it like right as it happened, but again, things happen. But Elsa Vadfors, surprise commitment, pretty much out of nowhere for Kentucky. 6'5" kid from Sweden. Of course, obviously she'll be a big, and she'll be a freshman this season. You know, we kind of talked about for a while now, like they need a center. This is kind of the one final thing they need, and then they went and get it. And I remember the last time we were on, Katie, we were kind of talking about like, well, they're going to go to the transfer portal. There's no one really good there. There's no one really good in JUCO, and so Kenny went international, and it makes sense. Elsa Vadford's like you go like look at her stats and stuff on the team she played on. She didn't produce a ton, but clearly she has physical. She has physical gifts. I mean, 6'5" isn't something not everybody's 6'5", and so Kenny goes and gets someone, it's very similar to like on the men's side, Braden Hawthorne. Now, Braden Hawthorne happens to be a top, 30, 40 recruit and is going to be at the end of the bench. Well, she's not a top 30, 40 recruit, but, you're bringing her in. She's going to play like 5-10 minutes a game, if that, just kind of giving some insurance down low along with Claire Strack. But Katie, just what do you make of Elsa Vadfors' commitment to Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, not really a producer on her current team, but I think, like you said, it's gonna be some insurance for Claire Strack. I would say she probably take on the same role as Clara Silva and try to learn a lot from Claire Strack. That way, when Strack is phased out, then there's someone else to rely on. Of course, we have another 2 years of Claire Strack, so also Vadfors might not really get like a ton of playing time for the next couple of seasons, but hopefully she sticks around and we can see some development with her.
I'm glad you brought up Silva because I think there's some similarities in the fact that well, first of all, whenever Clara Silva came in, it was like a week before classes started. Like she got here like early August, whereas everybody else got on campus. I want to say it's early to mid June, or maybe even late June, somewhere in June. I know that much, but she didn't get on campus until like August, and so of course, being an international kid, you come in, you're still adapting to like the culture and everything outside of basketball. Well, now you're thrown into the mix of all right, you're on an SEC team now. Good luck, run with the wolves, kind of thing. And Clara Silva really just my personal opinion, didn't really give the staff a chance to like give her another summer of development, right?
Mm.
Because when Clara Silva got here, she didn't have a summer. She had like a week or two. I mean, the season started in November, but practice was really ramping up and everything. Classes were starting. And it's unfortunate the way it unfolded with her because I think it's fair to say, coming into Kentucky was a lot more talented than Elsa Vadfors currently is, or at least on paper, that's the way it looked. And it's just unfortunate because, Clara Silva is someone who you really could have thought would have been a huge piece here down the line, or maybe even like really soon, maybe as soon as this year. But I just don't feel like she gave the staff a chance. But hopefully, and I'm sure she will, Elsa Vadfors gives the staff a chance to kind of work with her. I've heard that I don't know if she'll be on campus quite at the same time as everybody else will be this summer, but I think I think it's gonna be a lot sooner than what Clara Silva did. And, it's not like Elsa's gonna get here right as classes start. I don't. I think that's something that's kind of being worked on as we speak. But as far as I know, Elsa Vadfors should be getting here a little bit sooner, which definitely help her progression a lot. Katie, uh, it's a little too early to. I don't know. I don't know what you consider too early because you know Doesn't matter when it happens, like with these rankings and such, where we talk about them anyways. Talia Goodman, on three's women's basketball reporter, put out her top 25 preseason top 25. Kentucky came at number 18. Now, what I like about this is that Kentucky came one spot ahead of Louisville. And I'm just like a D1 Louisville hater. Like, if there was a Louisville hater Hall of Fame, I'd probably be first ballot. But Kentucky comes in number 18, Louisville number 19, just because it's fun for me to say. But Katie, do you feel like, I mean, do you feel like number 18 is kind of right?
I would say yes. I think even a little bit generous just based off of the lack of, I would well, I don't know. I think it's a little bit generous for now just because people haven't really seen Dom, people haven't really seen Jordan Obi on this team, so no one really knows how they're gonna play yet, even though both of us think they're gonna be crucial to this
Yeah.
team. A couple of freshmen on the team who are maybe gonna make an impact. I'm thinking Kaylin Carroll might, but, like we just talked about with Elsa, I'm not really sure about her. I think that there's a lot of talent in women's basketball this season, a lot of really good veteran players who stuck around. So I think that it's either right or maybe a little bit too high, but of course, I would love to be proven wrong.
And you would think, like, being number 18 in the country, like, oh, okay, you can compete in your conference. And I'm not saying Kentucky can't, but if you go off Talia's rankings, there's 5 SEC teams in the top 8. What on earth? Like, this conference just makes no sense. And she has Ole Miss all the way down at 22. Like, Ole Miss, I thought, could be a top 15 team in the country. Now, maybe, and of course, again, I think it's kind of similar. It's kind of like you were saying. I think with Ole Miss, like, you kind of got to see how all those pieces mesh together, what that kind of looks like in the end. But, I'm looking at TCU, who just added Olivia Miles and Clara Silva, and, is going to get Maddie Shear back. They're number 20. And then there's teams like Minnesota and Washington ranked ahead of Kentucky. And don't get me wrong, I think those teams can be good. Like, I think Iowa State at 13 is a little overrated. Vandy at 14. Vandy. We're talking about here. I know they've pitched in some money on their NILs and doing the recording, but I don't know if they'll be that good. But I think 18 for me. I feel like it's you. I think you said it's generous. I found that interesting. I almost feel like it's low, and that's just. I think I'm just overly optimistic about this team, which almost worries me because I'm normally like a big pessimist, and I'm like, we're not going to be nearly as good as I think we're going to be. But I have really high hopes for this team. But I could, I think 18 is reasonable. I personally think it's a little low. You think it's a little high, and I think overall, I think it's a very good spot to be in uh, at this point. Of course, I said there's 5 SEC teams in the top 8. Well, that would put Kentucky at 7th in the SEC because Vandy's there at 14. 7th in the SEC. That feels a little low to me, Katie. Just I think they just got to go out and kind of prove that they belong to be up there with the best teams in the country.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like you said, I'm looking at the list right now, and I feel like obviously Talia pays a lot more attention to different teams than we do because that's
Yeah.
not our job to watch all of these other teams and pay super close attention to them. But I'm not really understanding why a team like Michigan or even like, hold on, Iowa State, like you said, or Vandy is a lot higher, and TCU and Ohio State and Ole Miss are below Kentucky. I think that
Yeah.
to me, just based off last season, it feels a little bit out of order. But obviously, she knows something that we don't. So I'm not sure if she's expecting a lot more talent from these teams that weren't very good last year. I don't know, but I guess we'll see. And yeah, they just have to prove themselves.
I know Michigan has those the sisters. It's slipping my mind what their names are. The Sword Sisters. I know they're coming in. Sala and I can't remember the other one. But anyway, I know like Michigan, like those are 2 really good players, but I still don't know if they're number 10, like that much higher than Kentucky. But anyway, moving on to AAU season. Now, Katie, this is like I don't know if it's my least favorite or favorite part of the year at times because AAU can be so hard to follow. But again, it's really fun if you have a commit like Madden Greenway, who Katie, she's like dominating in the EYBL circuit right now, the Nike circuit. Like she's leading the whole circuit in assists per game, 6.3, and averaging 15 points, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and she's shooting like 40% from three. Like
Mm.
she plays for North Tartan, based out of Minnesota. I think that's the AAU team Paige Becker's played on as well. But like Madden is like I feel like it's clear why she's rising. Like she was like I want to say like when Kentucky first got into her recruitment, she was like the number like I want to say as low as around like number 30 and has ascended all the way up to number 10, being like a top 2 or 3 point guard in that class. And Katie, I feel like it's pretty clear why at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, she is very talented, and I think that it's going to be honestly pretty tough to keep her committed to Kentucky. I don't know if she's signed any kind of statement that she's going to come for sure. I mean, she still has another year before she can make it to college. So I'm sure that after her senior season there's going to be some other schools eyeing her pretty closely, maybe able to offer her more. I feel like her coming to Kentucky is very lucky right now, but hopefully she sticks around because she's clearly very good.
Katie, don't scare me. Don't put that thought into my head because I don't. She has not signed yet. Uh, I will say, and I think we've discussed this before. There were very brief discussions, and I don't know if it was internally or with the staff or what about Madden reclassing to 25, but they kind of wanted her to get the full high school experience, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for UK necessarily, but I do think it's worth noting that she was, kind of. They did ponder like, okay, I might be ready to go to UK already. Hold on, let's just pump the brakes. But I do think that's worth noting. But I don't. I think she's gonna sign. I don't see any reason why she would. I don't know if there's any reason why she would commit so early and then later on decommit. I mean, obviously the answer would be money or a better offer or whatever. But I just don't see that happening. I think Madden pretty secure with Kentucky, but I guess again it's not official. So thanks for scaring me. I do want to say, speaking of commitments, kind of happened right before we got on here. Bella Ragone and her, if that last name sounds familiar, her dad played quarterback at Louisville, and like Louisville was really big in her recruitment. Katie, she committed to Notre Dame, and it kind of sucks because Kentucky was in on her too. But again, like I said, D1 Louisville hater over here. I thought it was awesome because you lost out on your legacy child. Congrats, Louisville. It's like one of the top players in the 2026 class. Good job for losing out on her. But Katie, I want to move on to some of the prospects that Kentucky has offered, specifically Mimi Theo. Now, she is the sister of Adu Theo, who, of course, you all know, played at UK, went to Arkansas, and is now heading to the NBA. Katie, she is a really interesting prospect to me because ever since she took an unofficial visit to Kentucky in the 23-24 season, when Kyra's last year here. And Katie, at the time, she was not like right now, she's the number 27 player in the 26 class. At the time, I don't think she was sniffing the top 100. And it has been such an interesting recruitment to follow because, as soon as she took the unofficial, I was like, all right, I'm going to keep an eye on her. It's interesting that she's a Deuce sister, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's just exploded into one of the best players in the class and like one of the most highly coveted recruits in the class. Like she's not quite where South Carolina, UConn, LSU are offering her, but she's emerged up to the point to where like Mississippi State is offering her, some really good programs there. Like it's she's been a really interesting prospect to follow because you'd see her, all these kids post their offers and they're like, Columbia, mid-major school you've never heard of. And then all of a sudden you see like Arizona, Alabama, Kentucky, and you're like, oh, her stock is really rising. And I wish Kenny Brooks was in on this recruitment sooner because I feel like you could almost just kind of see the rise as it happened. But nonetheless, Katie, Kentucky offers Mimi Theo, sister of Adu Theo. What do you think about that? Because it's really interesting and honestly could be a great player at Kentucky if she were to somehow come here.
Yeah, I mean, I remember her unofficial visit during the LZ era, And the one thing that I remember about her specifically was that she was, like, not really that great, and I think that we were kind of like, "Oh, okay, well, that makes sense because this is who is being recruited so far, like, not any great
Yeah.
players." So, I don't think either of us were really surprised that she wasn't that great. I think it's more surprising that she's gotten so much better, but it's very refreshing because I feel like when you have a player like that who last year is just so flat and doesn't have any attention, and then all of a sudden she gets a ton of attention, it's just like it's a very nice thing to see. It's nice to see that she's getting recognition, and hopefully Kenny Brooks can kind of get in there and solidify his spot in this recruiting trail. But of course, with Adu leaving Kentucky, I almost worry that that is going to keep her from coming to Kentucky. I think that
Yeah.
I wouldn't get hopes up about her coming here, but I don't know, obviously.
I think it's interesting. You know, she like whenever Adu committed to Kentucky, there was the whole storyline of how like I think when he committed, he was like 6'4", and now he's like 6'8", right? Like these Theo kids, they just keep growing. They don't stop growing. And Mimi had to learn how to be a guard because she was like 5'10" or 5'11", and she had to learn how to play like a guard. Well, now she's 6'4", probably pushing 6'5" at this point, and she looks like Victor Wembanyama out there half the time, dribbling the ball like a point guard, and is 6'4", 6'5". I mean, I don't. I think I may go as far as to say like she's one of the most like underrated players in the country, and I wish Kentucky was done on the recruitment sooner. I don't. I think it's a very interesting dynamic, of course, with Adu and that connection. I hope Kentucky ends up getting her. I just don't know. But Katie, it is super interesting. Now, Kentucky has one commitment already in the 26 class, and of course, Madden Greenway happens to be a Gatorade Player of the Year. But Katie, why only have one Gatorade Player of the Year on your team when you can have two or more? Who knows, right? Kentucky offered Whitley Rogers, who in 2025 won Arkansas Gatorade Player of the Year. I like it's funny. We're just talking about Theo and Arkansas, and now we're making that connection there. But Whitley Rogers, averaged like 25 points a game for a high school team. Took him to the state tournament. Uh, just a really good player. I mean, she's not ranked, but I think that's because the 26 class right now, the way ESPN and Premier Basketball, the way they do it, it's only like a Super 60 right now, but she's probably pushing, that Super 60. You know, she had an opposing coach who said she's, basically described her as this like offensive superstar who is just absolutely insane. And like I think when you're looking at this kid, Katie, like Whitley Rogers, she can put the ball in the hoop, and she's one of the best, in the country at doing that. And honestly, I think that's about all the convincing you need that this is why someone Kentucky really needs to go after.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at her profile on the Gatorade Player of the Year website, I mean, she averaged almost 25 points per game, almost 7 rebounds per game, 3 assists, and 2.5 steals per game last season as a junior in high school. And so I think that she's very talented. She's probably only going to get better, and she'd be a great uh, person to add to this future team that Kentucky has with Asia Boone and Claire Strachan and Dom and Lexi Blue.
If you look at it, you know, you look at these prospects, and at a place like Kentucky, especially now under Kenny Brooks, you're like, if they're not top 100, I don't want it. Well, how about NC State? One of the powers in the country, Mississippi State, West Virginia, Colorado, Matthew Mitchell in Houston. Stay away from her, Matthew Mitchell. We want her, not you. The home state, Arkansas. Arkansas. They've offered her. Like, I think when you get teams like that offering a kid, I think she's definitely good enough to play to school like Kentucky. Katie, I also want to kind of, as we end the episode, want to hit on Ron Howard, because I feel like she doesn't get enough love from UK. Not maybe not UK themselves, but from like us, right? Because we rave about Georgia Amore going to the WNBA. Sometimes it's easy to forget about Ron because she played kind of right before, right as the game was kind of exploding, and now She's going off in the WNBA. Ron Howard's beginning her 4th season in the W, which is kind of crazy because it feels like she was at Kentucky not that long ago. But she's putting up 15 points, 4.5 assists, 2 steals for the Dream. The Dream actually just beat Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. It's like a 1-point game. She's still like, I love Ron, but she's not the most efficient scorer. Like she shoots like 35% from the field, which obviously isn't great, but she's putting up numbers and helping the Dream, win games. They should be a lot better this season. They made some offseason moves. Most important one, probably Brittany Griner. I know for me, I hated watching Tahina Paopao at South Carolina because she would shoot 50% from 3 and kill Kentucky every time. Well, now she's playing for the Dream and helping Ron Howard win basketball games, so it's hard to complain there. But Katie, just how about Ron Howard, continuing to be a star in, the best league in the world?
Yeah, I mean, for her to this is her 4th season in WNBA, and she's still making waves the way that she is. It's funny because if you look at her profile on ESPN, you can scroll down and it'll show you like the fantasy women's basketball little blurb, and she's ranked number 9, the number 9 guard overall, but I believe she's like number 17 overall. So if any of y'all play women's basketball fantasy, definitely draft her. But it also says that 99% of people who play fantasy women's basketball have her on their team. And so clearly she's doing something right. She's averaging 15 points per game. And in that game against Caitlin Clark, she scored 20. Like you said, not the most efficient. She's shooting 29% right now from the field, but the shots that matter are going in. And I just wish maybe more would go in, but at least she's making some of them.
She would probably average like 25 points a game if she could shoot the ball to, like a decent clip. But, like we still love you, Ron. We don't love that you're an assistant at Florida. I mean, I get it. Your mom played there. Like your mom went there. But, I mean, come on. Come home. Come home where you belong. But Ron Howard, obviously, it should be exciting to watch the Dream this season. Like, they should be much better than they were last season. And even last season, they lost to the eventual champions in the playoffs, right? So they should definitely be fun to watch. I think we're going to go ahead and call this an episode. Quick little summer edition, Katie. I think it's about what we're going to get all summer long. But before we get out of here, do you have any final words?
No, I don't think I do.
No, I don't think I do because my throat is hurting right now. Is
Yeah.
what she is really thinking internally. Well, thank you all for tuning in to episode 29 of the Memorial Memo. Again, I say this probably every episode, but it feels like not that long ago. We are just getting this thing started. 29 episodes deep. Can't wait for episode 30 soon enough. I'm Phoenix Stevens alongside Katie Hutchinson. Like, comment, subscribe, do all those wonderful things. Make Stevens' day, make all of our day. And we will see you guys next time.